Hello and welcome to Solopreneur, the show that helps business owners who are flying solo to solve their big sales, marketing and systems challenges one episode at a time. You can watch the video version of this episode at solopreneur.com. I'm Gareth Everson, and on today's episode, I'm going to be continuing the systems management theme that we focused on the last few episodes. And today I'm going to be talking about our platforms that we use in our business. Increasingly, digital platforms that are hosted online that we access via a browser. And we're going to be talking about the core foundations of your business and then other platforms that kind of play into it. Some of the challenges that we face, some of the scenarios that we need to manage, and some of the things that can create chaos and confusion in our business if we don't manage them in the right way from the very outset. So let's get into today's episode on platforms. On the last episode, I made reference again to this digital spaghetti challenge that we all face these days when we're managing the software and processes in our business. And I talked about how since the early 2010s, there's been this rise of almost app culture in running our businesses. The era of software as a service, where software companies have come from nowhere and developed little mini solutions to problems that we face either online or in an offline world in their tiny little application type scenario. You've got apps that are on your phone, you've got apps that you access via the web, you've got a whole raft of things that you need to stay on top of to be able to manage your business. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking about what we should have as the core foundations, the core platforms to be able to run our business from. We're going to be talking tools, but we're also going to be talking about a strategy for keeping things as simple and as effective as possible. For the last 12 years, I've worked, as I would describe, in tech. And so you'd think that as a result of that, I'm a huge fan of having apps that do things for us. But by the same token, I am a bit of a techie and I do like a gadget or two. By the same token, though, what I'm really driven by is helping my clients and people who perhaps aren't clients but listen to the kind of things that I talk about. I want to help those types of people to be able to manage their businesses more effectively. I'm really driven by that. And what I've seen through this almost Zapier culture of linking up app to app, or what I've termed the digital spaghetti, is that what it can do if we become too obsessed with the latest app and gadget and thing for this or that is a set of spinning wheels in our business. And that's of no help to anybody. If you have confusion or lack of clarity or lack of systems and processes in your business that are working effectively for you, you'll get ground down and you get stuck in the mud and you won't be able to get that momentum forward that you really want to do in your business. It can create this scenario where you just feel just totally overwhelmed by software that you have to manage or processes that you have to get on top of, that when you're having to open multiple different browsers to do different things, it can all just feel a little bit too overwhelming. And I've seen it so many times that what happens in that particular scenario is one or two things. Either you go down further rabbit holes of looking for other software that helps you out, and that just magnifies the problem in my opinion, or you take a step back and you stop using things, even the things that are really meaningful that make a difference to your business. I've seen so many business owners that have so many stories to tell their audience and such a great message to be able to help their target clients solve the problems that they face. I've seen so many of them just stop doing it and stop marketing, stop email marketing, stop posting to socials, stop creating blogs or other content because they just feel so digitally overwhelmed. That's the challenge that I hope I can give you a glint of light and hope on this episode to help you overcome them. So let's talk about what the core foundations are to platforms that we should be using in our business as a start point. If we break it down to the fundamentals, I see our core digital business platforms as two overlapping circles. If you think about a Venn diagram, what we've got on one side, we've got operations, and on the other side, the other circle is customer. So let's think about it in those two formats. On the operations side, this is all about, in effect, records keeping. So what software is involved there? It's things like our workspace software. So if you're using Google Workspace or Microsoft 365 to manage your business and your communications and your documentation and that kind of thing, workspace software falls into that bracket. The other key part of your operational software is accounting software, which may also include how you manage your staffing and payroll if you have staff in your team. So those are the core fundamentals of operational software. I'm not expert in any of those, but what I would say is keep things nice and simple with those. On the customer side of things, the hub of our customer circle is having an all-in-one CRM and a web presence for our business. And I'll come on to what I mean by both of those in a moment. So we've got our two overlapping circles. Why do they overlap? Well, there's an interaction between managing customers and billing those customers. So that's one very clear overlap. There's also an overlap when you come to deliver the work that you do, where you're probably sharing documents or PDFs or spreadsheets or whatever resources that you're using with your clients. There's an overlap there as well. So from managing customers to managing the operations of those and the documents around all of that, there's a clear overlap there as well. So let's think about our core foundations, our core platform for our business as falling into one of those two categories. It's operational or it's customer based. Let's talk briefly about the ops side of that, the operations circle of that. I'm no expert on any of these, but the clarity that I do have, business owner to business owner, is this. On the accounting side, what I would suggest to you is if you have an accountant, work with that accountant to determine which the best software is to manage your accounts. It will usually fall into one of three main pieces of software there. Xero is, in my opinion, the most popular one from what I've seen from working with my clients. QuickBooks is also a popular platform, and I've got clients that use that. And then finally, Free Agent, which is probably the third biggest player in the UK, certainly, is another popular accounting platform that people use. I know that certain banks provide Free Agent as a free software, which is great. It saves you a little bit of money, but do determine which of those accounting softwares that you use by working closely with your accountant or bookkeeper to get their guidance there. Because if you're trying to get a professional to use a piece of software that they're not aligned to, it's probably going to take them more time to do it. And therefore, as a result, it's going to cost you more to have them manage those financial processes for you. Then the other side of our operational software is what are we doing by way of what I'd describe as workspace software. So Google themselves actually call their app suite Google Workspace, which covers Gmail, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, and a whole raft of other online digital apps in that Google Workspace suite. Oh, I forgot to mention Google Drive, where you have online secure storage and backup of all of your documents. Microsoft, which is the other main player when it comes to workspace type apps, their suite seems to change names every year or so. Currently, it's called Microsoft 365, used to be called Office 365. Prior to that was called Microsoft Office. That suite includes things like Outlook, Microsoft Spreadsheets, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, and Microsoft PowerPoint, along with a whole raft of other apps there. What's the benefit of one over the other? Fundamentally, it comes down to usability. If you are happy to do all of your activities online and use digital resources online to manage all of those processes, Google Workspace would seem to be the most effective app for managing, or app suite for managing, all of those activities. The other great benefit of Google Workspace is its collaborative features. So if you are interacting with members of your team or virtual team, or perhaps inviting clients to have access to and work on documents, review documents, that kind of thing, it's a really effective platform for doing things collaboratively. You can even go to the extent of multiple people working on the same resources at once. And when that happens, first time you see it, it freaks you out a little bit. But then once you're sort of used to that, it can actually be a really good platform for doing things collaboratively, even when you're not in the same room. Microsoft has been a little bit slower to catch up on those kind of collaborative features of Microsoft 365, albeit they are now included. So up to you which you choose, but I would recommend that you choose one or the other because they're by and large used by most organizations around the world. There is an interoperability between the two platforms whereby you can download versions that will work in the other's software suites. That's all I want to say on the operations side of things. I'm only speaking as a business owner that uses these suites. I use Google Workspace and Xero. Those are my preferred tools. But any that I've covered there do the job for you. Just stick with one that works for you, that you like using, and that your staff enjoy using. And importantly, if you are working with certain types of clients, think about the kind of technology that they're using. My clients that work with corporates will tend to choose Microsoft as their platform because that tends to be the corporate choice. My clients that are working with either consumers or they're working one-to-one with, say, solo business owners or freelancers or that kind of thing, Google Workspace, generally speaking, tends to be the one that's preferred there. Okay, let's come on to the second circle that we've got, our second part of the Venn diagram, and this is where I have a lot more experience and expertise. This second circle is, in my opinion, the most confused one for most business owners. It's the one where they're bombarded with digital spaghetti. So let's break it down to the key fundamentals that are really important for you. The first one is your web presence. How are you managing that online presence that you have? What does your website look like? Where's it managed? What platform is it on? What's it doing for you? Second part of web presence is your social media presence. We've talked about social media in the past, about having one preferred one and then maybe two or three other ones that you spend slightly less time on, but you're still posting to and maybe looking at once a day rather than multiple times a day. So web presence is by and large driven in terms of the thinking and in terms of the management by how you're managing your website. The second part of the customer platform is what I would describe as all-in-one CRM. There aren't that many people online that will refer to it as this, but here's my definition of what I mean by an all-in-one CRM. My take on what an all-in-one CRM is that it should do at least three or more of these core functions. And those core functions are a fundamental CRM that is managing contacts and what you know about them, what they're doing, your interactions with them. So CRM is the first part of that. Then you've got your communications marketing pieces. Now that will be primarily in this day and age email marketing, but we've also got SMS marketing. We've increasingly finding that people need to use DMs on social media as a marketing communications vehicle. So in all of those three areas, your email, your text messaging, your social media DMs, has this platform got what you need in order to manage those? The third part is having some sort of way to manage your sales pipelines. The majority of people that listen to this podcast are in a B2B setting, so you'll understand what I talk about when we talk about having a sales process, taking people from being a qualified lead through to them raising their hand and having a conversation with you as a prospect, through to them becoming somebody that is ready to receive some sort of offer from you or proposal from you, through to then them signing up or not as a client. That's a basic sales pipeline. Most of these are represented in this kind of grid type format, or it's known as Kanban from the Japanese word for managing tiles on a board that move from step to step. Having some sort of sales pipeline where you can see which sales opportunities are where and at which stage, so that you can stay on top of them and automate some processes around that when they move between different stages, is important to B2B businesses. Part of that sales pipeline process is the ability to be able to create and send out quotes or proposals. So if that's an important process in your business, then look for some sort of solution that is able to do that for you. Then when it comes to somebody agreeing to work with you, there needs to be some sort of either digital sign-off of those quotes or proposals or that offer, or some sort of online order form / electronic payment type method built in to what you're managing in this all-in-one CRM. The final piece of the jigsaw is what is increasingly known as funnels. And what a funnel is basically a multi-step online process that somebody goes through. We've referred to it for a number of years as landing pages and lead magnets. Those have morphed into a variety of different ways that you might be capturing leads on your website. It might not just be a simple ebook or PDF download that we refer in the past to as a lead magnet. It might now be some sort of quiz that you're asking them to do that scores them based on their answers. A third popular way of capturing leads is to invite somebody into your world to take a mini course that is then available to them when they leave their details. And why we call this a funnel or a digital funnel is because the software will not only have that first page that somebody comes to where you're presenting that opt-in offer to them, but it will also have a thank you page on it. And it will also have perhaps some sort of bump type page where you can encourage them to buy, say, an entry offer or some time with you or some sort of digital asset that you're encouraging them to purchase from you. So instead of thinking about it as a landing page and lead magnet, try and think in terms of a multi-step funnel that you are building to bring people into your world, to give them some sort of resource for free, and then potentially get them to take some sort of step either with you or by buying something off the back of it. That's a simple 2 or 3 step type funnel. So all of those aspects are features that are in different all-in-one software products. I'll include in the show notes for this episode a summary that I did at the start of this year. I'm recording this in September 2024. At the start of 2024, I did a state of the market in all-in-one CRM. That's a digital resource that you can access and download and refer to that summarizes what all-in-one CRM is. And it also covers what's happening in that space for small businesses. And I summarize the performance of the 7 most popular small business all-in-one CRMs that are out there on the market. So I'll include a link to that in today's show notes. So all-in-one CRM is the key tenet of the customer part of our Venn diagram, the customer circle that we've got there. Second part of it is your web presence. And for most small businesses, that will probably be that you're managing your web presence on some sort of WordPress-based platform because either you've been introduced to it by other small businesses that are using it, or you've met a marketing agency or a web designer that's encouraged you to adopt the WordPress platform. Great tool, really excellent website platform to be able to build from and configure and have nice looking and well-designed pages on there, and also be able to host blog content on there that is new and updated and regular posts that people can read, watch, or listen to on your site. But I'll caveat with some of the things that we've talked about before on this series about you just need to keep that up to date. There are many other platforms that are out there. I'll include some resources in the show notes where you can manage your web presence, perhaps without those security vulnerabilities that having an outdated WordPress website leaves you exposed to. I run my business on a WordPress website, but I'm increasingly seeing that those people with slightly less technical knowledge and insight, or slightly less available to them by way of digital resources to be able to stay on top of things, or less inclination to pay a website manager to manage their site for them. I'm seeing alternative software also come to the fore at the moment through this tidal wave of where the software market has gone in the last 10 years or so. That was inevitable that it was going to happen to websites as well. So there are alternatives to WordPress that are perhaps easier to manage as your own business, or more secure and not requiring constant updates, variety of different routes that you can go down that's not necessarily just WordPress. But have a think about what works for you in your business by way of your online presence. So that all falls into the customer circle, your all-in-one CRM and your web presence, which is primarily your website. On the next episode, I'm going to be talking about the fourth P in systems management, which is around managing your passwords and your security of your assets online. So stay tuned for that. If there's anything that I've talked about in this series or in small business in general, don't hesitate to message me. LinkedIn is always the best place to get me. If you go to the URL askgareth.com, that will take you directly to my LinkedIn profile where my DMs are open, and we can start a conversation from there. And with that, I'd like to thank you for listening to this episode. I will see you on the next one, and we'll continue the systems management theme. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Solopreneur podcast. Remember that what we learned today builds more value if there's a plan to take action on it tomorrow. So head to solopreneur.com and check out our growing community of action takers and all the training and software that you need to build a scalable business without breaking the bank. And if you value the show, please help others to discover it too by leaving us a review wherever you get your podcasts, or by sharing a link to an episode on LinkedIn or wherever your finger does its scrolling.